I'd say the other question that we get is about connecting bunkies. Everybody wants to connect the bunkies together. Um, so have we seen clients do this? Yes. Do we recommend that like you work with someone like Waddell or an engineering firm in your area just, to double check the way that you want to do it? Yes. Have some people gone rogue and just done it? Yes. We've seen all of the above. I've seen some really cool connections. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible. The main concern, if we're looking like aside from kind of engineering that we have is like, being similar to like a log type cabin structure, the wood's going to expand and contract, which means it kind of moves up and down a little bit. And so because it does that, when you're connecting two different things together, you're now impeding its ability for it to move up and down. It now has to move together. And so that could cause a little bit of a problem, more so like a gap forming in the wall in between a board if you've got one that's pulling and one that's not. And there are ways to connect things that then take that into account and help to minimize or eliminate the risk of that happening. So we always say like that's got to be kept at the forefront in your mind. I've seen you guys design a couple really cool connections that keeps that all in mind and kind of eliminates that worry. And we've also kind of developed these almost like a bracket type system that kind of allows for still expansion and contraction of the wood. So you guys have designed a few connections now. What can you tell us about connecting them?
Yeah, well, shrinkage is definitely at the forefront of our mind with regard to that because, yeah, I mean, you might even want to mention just the number value you told me that one time where how much they can shrink by because that
Just
was
for
shocking.
fun. Yeah, just for fun when we built the one model, and it was a taller lofted model. So, take that into account. But we built it. We knew what, the wood moisture content was at when we built it. We usually, when we're molding and everything, it's about 12 to 15%. And so we, brought it straight out of the shop, built it out in front, and then we measured it and we're like, I want to see in a couple weeks, once the roof was on and everything had settled, how much this changes the height overall. And it went down about an inch and a half. It has, there's wood has a lot of ability to expand and contract. And so that was a really just a fun experiment for us, but just so we had some anecdotal, like, look, this much can happen. And so that's why we say take it into account, especially at the beginning. It's not going to do it as much further on down the road, especially once it's all stained and sealed. But right at the beginning, everything's going to kind of compress and like breathe out, like settle. So sorry.
Yeah. So you definitely want to take. Yeah, so you definitely want to take that into account because, yeah, like she mentioned, if you have uh, members that are connecting together that are not necessarily shrinking the same, so you have shrinkage that's parallel to the grain and perpendicular to the grain. And if you start mix and matching those, then the shrinkage, you have a shrinkage differential, and that can, on occasion, cause splitting. So you may not always have that, but still you run the risk of that. And I mean, for aesthetic purposes, not always a nice thing to have there. But so, yeah, and when we design those type of connections, we do definitely want to have that in our mind. And it can be various types of things from creating some type of wood angle that allows for sliding, or you can use angle brackets to connect the lumber together. There's various ways, and it's pretty flexible based on what the client necessarily wants to do or what kind of look they want to have from the inside, from the outside, and so on. But yeah, definitely having that shrinkage is important. And then something that you want to also keep in mind as well is that how you want to have that space from transitioning from one bunkie to the other. We've had people come to us asking, can I remove this wall entirely? That's a huge no. You can kind of think of it like if you stacked a bunch of toothpicks and then you just put, I don't know, a book or whatever on top of it, it's just gonna fall over right away. You need to have some sort of, I don't know, put like something square underneath as well that acts as bracing. So when you start removing opening walls entirely, or just making openings bigger or adding more openings, you start to kind of create more of that toothpick type action with your bunkie. And when you have ones really wide, you have a bit more playroom. But then when you start having things like the Haven Ultra, which is very tall and narrow, you really don't want to be playing with the walls at all. That's almost at its capacity with regard to lateral resistance, moving side to side with the wind, earthquake. So you really don't want to be playing with your openings that much than what's already been stamped. So that's a huge thing to keep into account. If there's a door, it should just remain that door. Do not make it wider. Do not think about making a loft at the top and then opening up that space entirely. The walls should remain as walls.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the one reason I'm always a stickler on like, yeah, I recommend have an engineer, review whatever if you want to connect them, just because generally speaking, if somebody wants to connect it, they want to add another doorway. Most often. And like you said, a lot of times they'll just ask, well, can I just take out, like, just cut out this whole wall? And it's like, no, definitely don't do that. If the engineers say you can add a little doorway, okay, that's fine, but like, don't take out a whole wall, and definitely check about even adding the doorway. Which is also kind of why, we have that. Some people will purchase, an extra window for one of the other walls or something. But that's also why when you do that, we're like, hey, it can't go, within 12 inches of the corner. It can't go higher than XYZ, because we want to have fully complete intact walls. You can't just cut out and put 3 windows across one wall and make it just a window wall, because you're taking out a lot of the structural components to it in that. So it's like we have to, yes, you can add a window, but it has to be limited to certain size and places.
Yeah, exactly.